What's up, everybody? It's Critical. I wanted to share a story with you all about an experience I've had with Tinder. I haven't told a story in a while, and I thought this was a good one to tell. I still have Tinder, but I don't use it anymore. And over the last year, I only really used it to survey my matches about Brendan Fraser and just kind of gauge their interest in a Brendan Fraser comeback. Basically, I was just a fucking Brendan Fraser epidemiologist on Tinder. But that wasn't always the case. Back when Tinder was first starting to get big a few years ago, I put a lot of effort there and went on a few dates from Tinder. The majority of the dates were absolutely atrocious, just abysmal. But one date in particular will stand out as the worst date I've ever had, and probably will ever have. It's the worst date you could ever have. So I was talking to this girl from Tinder, and she was a real cutie patootie, and I was making some smooth moves. Hey girl, you got that baloney, I got that turbo dick, let's make a sex sandwich. You know, some real suave shit. Yahar, matey, your cooter be wettin' me willy wants to set sail. Let's fuck, you know, some good shit, and she was into it. So we'd come up with a whole date day, you know, we were gonna meet and do all these things together, and it was gonna be a fun day. And when that day rolled around, it turned out there was no fun to be had whatsoever. So the plan was I was gonna pick her up and we were gonna get food first, but I couldn't really figure out which house was hers because the address was all kind of fucked up in the GPS. I guess she lived in an underground bunker. So I pulled up to this weird looking house. It looked like a little crack shack, and then an old man exited the door as I was texting her. So I was like, oh shit, this guy that looks like a ZZ Top member's coming into my car. I've been bamboozled. I've been schmeckeldorfed. But then she calls me and it turns out I was just at her neighbor's house. But then when I pulled up to her house and she exited the door, it was the exact same experience. This girl looked nothing like her Tinder pictures or any of the Snapchats she sent me. This was a completely different person. But she was fun to talk to, so, you know, I still thought it was still going to be a fun day, even though she didn't look like what I expected or anything like that. So she opens my car, and as she sits down, she just rips ass. Just fucking explodes from the anus. It's like she just jumped on a whoopee cushion once she got in my car. And there was no reasonable excuse you could make here, you know, like, oh, damn sneaky sneakers making fart noises down there. No. It was very clear to everyone, including God, that that was a really hard breaking of wind. But she tried her best to try and hide the sound, so she just started coughing super loud, so that way, you know, oh, it was just a cough, a really loud cough. But she really overdid it. She went into a fucking 40-second coughing fit for a 1-second ass rippage. I don't understand. Maybe she was just farting the whole time she was under this coughing spell, just shitting her pants in my passenger seat. But I was worried I was going to have to fucking take her to the hospital. She just kept coughing and coughing and coughing, and I was panicking. And then, all of a sudden, she stopped and apologizes, and that's when the smell hits. This disgusting, foul Methodist fills my car, and it takes the breath right out of me. It makes my eyes water and my nose burn. It's like a biological weapon was just unleashed within my vehicle. I didn't know how to react, but I couldn't point out this elephant in the anus here. I just needed to pretend like I didn't smell anything. So I tried to act completely normal, but she was saying something to me and I couldn't make out what she was saying because it was as if a grenade had just gone off in this car. My ears were ringing, my vision was blurry. Her voice was muffled, her words were gibberish. She sounded like a fucking adult character in the Charlie Brown cartoon. Nothing was making sense. For a moment, I had exited this corporeal world through a fart. But then the dust began to settle and I came back to reality. And I just asked her to repeat what she said, and she did. I don't remember what she said. All that was on my mind is, how can I get out of this? So I came up with this genius plan, this absolutely brilliant scheme. So I told her, hey, look, I forgot my dad told me he wanted to go bowling today. And we already made the plan last week, and I can't leave him hanging like this. So we can go get lunch, but after that, I've got to skedaddle. And she wasn't buying it. She knew something was awry here. What bowling alley are you going to, she asks. As beads of sweat start streaming down my face, I start trying to connect words that could sound like a bowling alley. So I came up with Sky King Pins. It doesn't really sound like a bowling alley. It sounds like somewhere you'd go to watch airplanes race against each other, but it was the best I could do at the time. And she was okay with that. What pound of bowling ball do I use? 15. First one that came to mind. I usually use a 16. I throw the fucking lead down there. I throw fucking cannonballs when I go bowling, but 15 because it's the first number that popped into my head when she said that. Next question. How old's my dad? That one caught me off guard. I don't know why she asked me that. I don't understand the relevance, but still she asked, and the only thing I could think of was my dad wouldn't be happy if I told someone else's age. Then she asked me a couple other really stupid questions, but one that was a real tit slapper, one that I knew I'd have to be very careful with how I answered. She asked, okay, can we hang out after you're done bowling with your dad? I didn't know what to do. This was the Gordian knot that I'd need to cut here. How could I address this question? Because I don't like to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't like to make anyone feel bad. So I couldn't just say, no, of course we can't. I just had to tiptoe around it. So I came up with this really long-winded story, this very elaborate novel of what we were going to participate in after bowling. Oh, after we go get a few strikes, we were all going to go to my grandma's house where she's making her world-famous salmon sugar pancakes. I'm sorry, it's just got a whole lot of plans for the rest of the day I won't be able to. And she was disappointed but understood because, Grandma's whipping up her good old-fashioned dirt and soil crumpets or whatever the fuck I told her she was making. I don't even remember what meal I said. But she understood. And then we got to the restaurant, we got our food, things were winding down. Eating, there was nothing too out of the ordinary that happened there, just general small talk, until she got a phone call from her parents. They had called her to yell and scream at her because her grades were slipping. I could hear most of it. It was extremely uncomfortable to sit through. It sounded like she was being shouted at by a fucking drill sergeant. And then she started breaking down into tears in the restaurant. And I'm not really good when people are crying around me. I don't really know how to handle that. So I would just kind of, cheer up, sport. They don't know you. You're strong, and it's just school. Come on, champ. You don't let that affect you. We're having such a great day. Come on, just think of all the fun we're having here. You're farting and shitting in my car and stuff, and now you're crying in this restaurant. Come on, let's just get you home. It was just very uncomfortable. There's not even words I could use to describe just how awful that situation was for the both of us. Because I know it was shitty for her too. Because she's crying in front of this person she hardly knows. And that was pretty much the end of the date. I brought her home. The car ride was completely silent for the 15 minutes from the restaurant to her place. And then she just said, all right, see ya. And I was like, all right, take it easy. Peace out. I'm out ski. I'm bouncing. I said all of those to her, and then I went and left. And then I checked with her later to see if she was feeling better about that whole situation with her parents, and she said she was, so that's good. But yeah, that's the worst date I've ever had, and also pretty much my experience with Tinder summed up into one story. And yeah, that's it. See ya. What's up, everybody? It's Critical. For years, I've gotten emails asking me to tell more stories, so that's what I'm gonna do tonight. Cozy on up, pop a squat down by the fireplace, and listen to my nipples. Ashamedly, this tale isn't that old. It happened last year. After my long-term relationship ended, I had devolved into a socially inept husk. I had completely forgotten how to flirt or talk to females in a romantic way. It was bad. Every time I even tried to talk to a girl, I sounded like a troglodyte ODing on sleeping pills, and God forbid a girl ever made the mistake of starting a conversation with me. They would soon find out that I was fundamentally fluent in aphasia. The shit that was coming out of my mouth was just unintelligible. It was downright disrespectful to humanity how bad I was at flirting. But there's one night in particular that I still lose sleep over when I think back on. One event that to this day, when I'm about to ejaculate, makes my penis tingle in an unpleasant way. It was the very first weekend after my breakup, and I was going to a bar with my friends. I was going out with the intent of just drinking and having a good time and not worrying about anything. But my friend's sister insisted she wingman me that night, and I knew deep down in my soul that it would be a fucking train wreck. The night was darker than usual, the moon tucked away behind the clouds as if trying to cover its eyes and shield itself from the awkwardness that was about to unfold at this poor little bar. As if the moon knew just how shitty this experiment was going to turn out. But anyways, in my friend's sister's defense, she was an outstanding wingman, but the odds were stacked against her because she was trying to wingman a fucking sinking ship of social skills. So she was taking me to meet everyone at the bar. We met a ton of people. She was just dragging me along like I was her suitcase, except this suitcase wasn't filled with clothes or toiletries, it was just filled with awkwardness. And nothing too noteworthy happened. I managed to meet all of these new people without shitting my britches, which was a Herculean task, so that's an accomplishment that I'm very proud of. But then the very last two people we met will forever be etched into my memory. It was two attractive women, just casually drinking at one of the tables by the bar, as the bar was clearing out since it was getting late. The weatherman may have predicted cloudy with moderate humidity, but what he couldn't predict, what no one could have predicted, was the storm of awkwardness that was about to befall the area. My friend approached them the same as she had all the others, and as I trailed behind her, I could feel something deep inside of me pulling me, as if a future version of myself was trying to yank me away from the situation so I wouldn't have this memory. But alas, I disregarded the feeling and continued forward, each step towards their table, a new scar that I bear. We make it to the table. Small talk begins. Names are exchanged. I instantly forget both of their names, but I remember how I introduced myself to them. I extended my hand for a handshake like I'm conducting a fucking business meeting. Oh yes, ladies, I'll need the stock reports on my desk, 8 a.m. sharp. But the worst part of this gesture is when they do oblige my handshake, I kung fu grip them. I grab their hands hard as shit. It's like that scene in The Predator where Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers get in the handshaking competition. Oh, they got you pushing too many pencils. Well, I was pushing too much awkwardness right from the get-go. So yeah, suboptimal start, bit of a rocky beginning. Chalk that one up to nerves though, you know, that's excusable. So my friend's sister starts distracting one of the girls. Oh, do you go to UT too? What sorority are you in? This and that. Working under the assumption that I am not a bumbling goober and can handle a one-on-one conversation with the other girl. Rookie mistake. I absolutely could not handle that in any capacity. It was abysmal. I have no doubt. I can say with confidence that it is the worst conversation she had ever been a part of, and probably to this day is still the worst conversation she has ever been a part of. With each sentence that I diarrheaed out, I could feel it getting more and more uncomfortable for the both of us. So, do you like alcohol? I mean, it's a good beverage. Envelope adhesives, how do they keep those damn things together? You know, some strong shit. Oh, this is some nice shoes. I like shoes. I wear shoes sometimes, too. I don't wear shoes when I sleep, though. I take shoes off when I sleep. I'm not weird. I don't take the shoes. It was fucking miserable. And this continues for about 15 or 20 minutes. I don't know how she resisted the urge to just puke in my face, but she just let me keep going. I'm just over here hooting and hollering about our universe being a simulation or some shit. And then eventually she gets so bored, and I'm confused because I'm having a conversation with myself in my head, and I'm having one with her. So I was just, by the end of it, I didn't know if I was talking to myself or talking to her. It was just a weird situation altogether. But she gets so bored, and she puts the kibosh on it. She says, "Look, I've been having a shit week, and I just want to go home with a guy tonight, okay?" And then she puts her hand on my hand. And then I looked her in the eyes. We locked eyes for a minute. And I said to her, "Well, you're going to have to hurry up because the bar's clearing out. I wish you the best of luck finding a guy, but if you don't find one, I'll eat your pussy for a little bit if you want." That is verbatim what I said to her in response to that. I could never forget those words. They're burned into my brain. The second those escaped my mouth, I became sober. I was inebriated going into it. I said that, and then I could have flown a fucking plane at that point. I could feel my asshole pucker. My anus was becoming the universe. It was like every cell in my body was being bludgeoned by a cactus. For me, this was proof that whatever higher power or creator exists, they truly don't care about this world. Because if they did, they would have sent a fucking wild ice cream truck to take me out right then and there. And the look on her face, I will never forget it. It was a look of pure shock, confusion, and anger. Every emotion a human is capable of feeling, she felt in that moment. And then she pretended to get a phone call so she had an excuse to leave. That makes her a good person in my book, because what she should have done is say, "Hey, get the fuck away from me, you creepy homunculus," or something to that effect, because that's what I deserved. She was nice enough to actually make it seem like she just had something else to do instead of just telling me to fuck off, which she absolutely had a right to do because she had just put up with my ranting and raving for 20 minutes, and then I basically just rejected her to her face with my last little humdinger there. So to me, that woman is a hero. Now to make matters even worse though, my friend's sister and the girl's friend heard what I said. It's like the music in the bar just cut out and everyone stopped talking right before I uttered those words. But luckily, she never mentioned it because I'm assuming she erased it from her memory immediately after, so that way she would spare her mind the anguish of trying to comprehend what the fuck I was thinking when I said that. But yeah, so that's the story. It was by far the most uncomfortable situation I'd ever been a part of and created. I mean, I did both. I was both the participant and the orchestrator. So it was weird. But yeah, that's the story. That's it. See ya.